Inspiring twist, billionaire discovers homeless twins he purchased are his hidden lost daughters. Jackson Beaufort stood atop his empire, a skyscraper gleaming in the New York sun, but inside him, shadows lurked. At 45, he was a self-made billionaire, yet the skyscrapers felt more like walls closing in rather than symbols of success. His heart ached from the loss of his twin daughters, Emma and Olivia, taken from him in a bitter divorce that echoed through every moment of his empty days. He navigated boardrooms with power and ruthlessness, suppressing the grief that threatened to consume him. Night fell, and loneliness settled in like a merciless fog. Meanwhile, in the heart of the city, two resilient girls trudged through life, fashioning hope from despair. Emma and Olivia, now 17, were no longer the carefree giggling kids he remembered. They scoured the streets, relying solely on each other, their bond forged in hardship as they fought against the grim reality of homelessness. They wandered into a crumbling community shelter, a place where they poured their hearts into helping others, turning small acts of kindness into sustenance for the community's weary spirit. Each warm meal they served brightened the eyes of those around them, bringing fleeting joy to those who often felt forgotten. Unbeknownst to Jackson, he had just purchased this very shelter. As he reviewed his new investment, a compelling pull coursed through him, an urge to wander into the very place where hope flickered against the odds. His heart thundered in his chest as he stepped over the threshold, greeted by laughter mixed with desperation. Then, he spotted them, Emma and Olivia, tirelessly organizing a fundraiser, their laughter and determination igniting a profound yearning deep within him. In that moment, images flooded Jackson's mind, Emma's bright smile, Olivia's infectious laughter. Memories he thought he buried returned to him, cutting through the fog of isolation. Their mission to save the shelter, however, quickly spiraled into chaos. As the flicker of that warmth began to dim, Jackson found himself mesmerized by their bravery. The twins were mirrors reflecting his failures, exposing his inadequacies as a father who had let circumstance steal his daughters away. Suddenly, a crisis struck. The shelter faced foreclosure, threatening to devastate the fragile community the twins had nurtured. Jackson could feel the weight of finality in the air, suffocating him like a thick blanket. Vulnerability crept in as he watched the twins, passion radiating from them as they rallied support for their cause. Their plea for help echoed through him, igniting a spark of humanity he thought snuffed out long ago. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jackson began to step in to help, the bond of blood stirred between them, an invisible thread connecting their hearts. But before they could bridge the chasm between them, fate unveiled a startling truth. A flurry of forgotten keepsakes and whispered names ignited chilling realizations and gnawing fear accompanied by a surge of hope twisted in their chests. Their eyes met, filled with shock and unspoken recognition. Every hope and every heartbreak collided in that moment. Could they really be father and daughters again? The weight of the revelation settled over them like a looming storm. Just who had lost more in this tangled tale of wealth and poverty? As Jackson grappled with the past, the haunted memories rose to the surface, leaving him standing on the precipice of what could be a heartbreaking reunion. Would forgiveness mend the wounds time has carved, or were they destined to plunge deeper into sorrow? Jackson stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat as the twins exchanged glances filled with disbelief. The world around them faded into a blur, every sound retreating to a dull hum. Emma's confident demeanor softened, and Olivia's resolute spirit seemed to falter, if only for a moment. How could all this be happening? Each heartbeat felt louder than the last, a drum signaling both dread and a flicker of hope. Dad? Olivia's voice was barely a whisper, thick with disbelief. The word hung in the air like a fragile secret just about to shatter. Jackson's heart raced. It felt like 1,000 emotions flew through him: shame, love, longing, and terror. Could he really be their father again after all these years? What kind of man had he become without them? I didn't he know, he stammered, the weight of every lost moment crashing down on him. I never meant to, not meant to. Or couldn't he? Emma challenged, her brow furrowed and eyes glistening. You walked away, didn't he? You? Tears threatened to spill over his tense lashes as the truth crushed him. Their words weren't just accusations, they were the reflection of a father's betrayal echoing back at him. Didn't he know how to fix the hurt? Didn't he know if he even deserved to try? I've been lost without you, he admitted, voice trembling. Every decision after the divorce felt empty without my girls. I hoped you were safe. Maybe I didn't try hard enough. I tried to build an empire, but I lost what meant most. Emma stepped back, folding her arms. Safe? You think money could give us safety? We've been alone, Dad. Alone in our own city. The truth stung. The girls had forged lives in hardship, while he had lived through a gilded cage, one row of corner office views after another. Jackson felt like the very fabric of his identity unraveled in front of the twins. They were now strangers, tied together by blood yet separated by years of pain and ignorance. I want to help. I want to know, I need to be a part of your lives, he finally said, voice strengthened with desperation. Let me make things right. I'll save the shelter. I'll find a way to keep it open, and we can do this together. Emma and Olivia exchanged glances again, caught in a silent conversation of weighing their options. The skepticism in their eyes was unmistakable. Could they trust him? Could he really mean it this time? Saving the shelter means little if it's only about money, Olivia replied slowly. It's about community. It's about sacrifice and love. Can you do that? Jackson's resolve hardened. Love. That was the very thing he had forgotten. The very thing he had taken for granted. I'll do whatever it takes, he asserted, determination edging his voice. I don't know how to believe you, Emma replied, voice quivering like a lamp flickering in the wind. You have to show us. With that, the air grew thick with uncertainty. A fragile bridge remained to be crossed, but it felt impossibly wide. Could he truly earn their trust? Would they allow him back into their lives, back into their hearts? Precious minutes ticked silently by as each fought their inner turmoil. As he looked into their eyes, Jackson felt the looming weight of his decision press down on him. He needed to act, but his heart raced at what that might mean. Then, without warning, the shelter's door swung open, a gust of chilly air rushing in. A figure stepped inside, a community member running to deliver urgent news. There's a protest happening. People are gathering outside. They want to shut us down tonight. The intensity shifted. Jackson's instinct kicked in. He could not allow the shelter to fold now, not when he saw a chance to fight alongside his daughters. Let us go. He shouted, grabbing both their hands in urgency. Together. Let South save this place and rebuild what we lost. But as the three rushed out into the night, the path ahead remained uncertain. Jackson could hardly breathe as both fear and determination intertwined. Would the sisters allow him to join them in this fight? And if they triumphed, what would their relationship really look like? Clouds gathered overhead, but lightning of hope flickered in their midst. The next battle was at hand, but the war for their hearts had only just begun. The streets outside the shelter were alive with sound. Voices rose in protest, a wave of anger and hope crashing against the walls of their building. Jackson felt his pulse quicken as he led Emma and Olivia through the throng of people, some holding signs, others chanting for change. Their energy buzzed in the air, undeniable and electric. Dad, what's the plan? Olivia asked, her brows knitted together with a mix of concern and determination. Jackson could see the flicker of hope in her eyes, fighting for dominance against the weight of the past. My plan, Jackson said, feeling his throat tighten. Is to stand beside you both, for us to be seen. To show them that this shelter matters, that it's more than just bricks and mortar. It's a lifeline for our community. Emma took a deep breath, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. We need to make speeches, to connect with them. Show them there's more to the story than just money and donations. This is personal. In that moment, Jackson felt a sense of clarity. This was their opportunity to rebuild trust. Standing together with the twins, they could each become a voice, a force for change. He shifted his grip, holding their hands tighter. They moved toward the front of the protest. Jackson didn't realize how much he missed this feeling, the thrill of a shared mission. But then came a wave of doubt. Could he really do this? Could he really stand against the very system that had once caused his family to break apart? As they approached the makeshift stage set up in front of the shelter, Jackson glanced at his daughters. They were fierce, ready to fight. He felt a swell of pride and a fresh wave of determination wash over him. Suddenly, a loud voice broke through the clamor. We demand justice for our community. Those in power can no longer turn a blind eye to the struggles of the people. It was a young woman, her face passionate and strong, rallying the crowd. Jackson caught Emma's eye. We need to make our voices heard, he urged. He couldn't let this opportunity slip away. Emma nodded. They stepped closer to the microphone, where other volunteers were speaking. His daughters went first, sharing their stories, their passions burning bright. Olivia spoke about her work volunteering, and Emma shared the tear-filled accounts of people whose lives had changed thanks to the shelter. Every word was a plea, a call to action. They had the crowd hanging on their every syllable. Jackson found his voice, too, stepping behind them. For the first time in years, he had something worth saying. The weight of his past motives fell away as he declared, this shelter isn't just a building to us, it's our home. It's our family. We can't let it fall. He watched the spark light their eyes when he spoke, and it filled him with a sense of fulfillment he hadn't felt in ages. The cheers of support from the crowd amplified his courage. But just then, he spotted a group of suits on the other side of the street. Watching them. The faces of those who were part of the very system they were fighting. Anxiety knotted his stomach. Were they here to shut it all down? Dad? Olivia's voice cut through his thoughts, dripping with concern. He glanced back at his daughters, both leaning in, sensing his unease. The moment hung in the air like a pendulum, swinging between hope and fear. Would he protect what mattered most to them? Would they stand united against an invisible wall, or would those faces bring ghosts from his past crashing back? Stay close, he whispered, but the challenge loomed stark. Jackson realized that saving the shelter was only half the battle. The other half was saving their family. Ahead, the crowd surged forward. A chant rang out, echoing through the night, save our shelter. Save our home. The tide of voices rose like thunder, but Jackson's heart raced for a different reason entirely. Could he really earn their trust and make things right? As dawn approached, the line between victory and defeat blurred with each passing moment, leaving a heavy question on his mind: what price was he willing to pay? Jackson's heartbeat roared in his ears as he turned to face the crowd. Their voices surged, vibrating with passion and urgency. His family's fate hung in the balance, teetering between the desire for change and the looming shadows of their past. Maybe today would be different. Maybe this was the moment he had been waiting for. The suits, standing calmly across the street, seemed to exude an air of superiority, as if they owned the very ground they stood on. Jackson clenched his fists, the warmth of his daughter's hands grounding him. Their unity was a small but fierce flame flickering against the storm of doubt. As more speakers took the microphone, Jackson felt the need to engage the crowd further. The electricity of the moment fueled his adrenaline. He was determined to help Emma and Olivia capture their audience. He leaned in closer and whispered to them, "Let us tell them what really happens inside. What it means to us. Both girls nodded, their eyes bright with resolve. One by one, they shared heartwarming stories, painting vivid images of community gatherings, laughter echoing off the walls, and the family they had formed at the shelter. Jackson watched, pride swelling in his chest, their words becoming a lifeblood that connected them all. But then, the speaker's mic crackled, bringing everyone's attention back to the young woman who had rallied them so effectively. She held up a hand. "And let us remember," she said, her voice clear and stern, "the very people responsible for cutting funds and support are right there. They must hear us." With that statement, she gestured towards the suits. The crowd erupted in a collective uproar, a mix of outrage and rallying cries. Jackson felt a twinge of fear, the uncertainty prickling under his skin. What if the crowd turned violent? Would that put his daughters in danger? "Stay close," he urged again, pulling them a little nearer. They stepped into a protective circle, their resolve unshaken. He felt their faith in him, igniting a fire that had long been buried. Then it happened. From the back of the crowd, a loud crash sounded as a protester's sign slammed into the ground, shattering some of the tension. Jackson turned, reacting before he could think, fear crumbling his resolve. He glanced back at the suits. They hadn't moved, but their expressions had shifted, calculating, assessing. "Dad, look!" Emma shouted. Jackson turned to see a group of people, cloaked in shadows, moving toward the suits, drawn like moths to a flame. A murmur rippled through the crowd, rumors swirling about what might happen next. An unexpected energy pulsed in the air, Jackson could feel a shift. "What are they doing?" Olivia's voice trembled with both fear and excitement. "I don't know," he admitted, his heart racing. "But we need to be ready for anything." A figure from the shadows stepped into the light, and Jackson's breath hitched. His breath quickened as memories threatened to resurface, memories he had buried deep, wanting to erase every wrong that had come before. It was a man he recognized from his past, one who had played a part in tearing his family apart. "Dad, is that Olivia?" began. "Yeah, it is," Jackson said, feeling the knot tighten in his chest. Would this be the moment everything changed? The crowd fell silent, eyes darting between the man and the suits. Tension hung thick in the air. Jackson knew this was pivotal, perhaps a turning point for them all. The stakes were higher than he had ever imagined. As the figure approached, Jackson clenched his fists, wondering if he truly had the will to face his past. Would he embrace the man who had once moved mountains in his life, or resist whatever truth splintered through the air? And then, like a flint struck against steel, the question whispered through the crowd: would this confrontation alter the course of their lives forever? Jackson's eyes locked onto the figure breaking through the crowd, a ghost from his past with every bit of power to unearth buried wounds. The man's presence sent shockwaves through Jackson, memories flashing through his mind like lightning strikes, trembling hands, closed doors, and words that once shattered his family. "What's happening?" Emma's whisper cut through his whirlwind of thoughts. "I am not sure," Jackson stammered, fighting against the rising tide of dread. He wanted to shield them from this pain, but he could feel the crowd's eyes searching for a story, a reason why this stranger was here. The figure drew nearer, a heavy-set man in an expensive suit, his face marked by time and choices that had woven a complicated tapestry of regret and resolve. He had once been a friend and a mentor, until ambition turned him into an adversary. "Jackson," the man called out, his voice rich and melodic, infused with a hint of nostalgia. "It's been a long time." A gentle gasp escaped Olivia's lips. "You know him?" "Yes," Jackson breathed, his heart racing. "He was part of everything." The man reached for Jackson, a desperate look etched onto his face, as though he wanted to bridge a chasm that was too wide to cross. "I didn't know. I didn't understand until now." "What do you mean?" Jackson said, keeping his tone steady as anger flared inside him. "You didn't understand what you were doing. You took so much from us." "I know," the man said, his eyes pleading. "But I'm not here to fight. I want to make things right." The crowd buzzed with a mix of confusion and intrigue. Jackson felt the energy shift. Each person held their breath, waiting for a revelation that could change everything. Make things right? Jackson scoffed. How do you even begin to fix that? You think just saying sorry is enough? Sometimes it starts with understanding, the man replied, his voice thick with emotion. I was blinded by my goals, and I mistook your family's struggle for weakness. I see it now. Jackson's body tensed. He was battling the urge to walk away, to reject this man who had been a part of his family's downfall. But he couldn't shake the seed of curiosity that began to sprout. What could he really offer? I wasn't looking for redemption, Jackson said, hardening his heart against the flood of old feelings. Not from you. But before he could dismiss him, the figure continued. You think I don't know? You think I don't regret? That's why I'm here to show you that I have resources now. Things can change, Jackson. They can truly change. Olivia stepped closer, her innocent eyes wide with a mix of hope and confusion. What do you mean? What kind of resources? The man glanced at the suits, who were now watching with wary interest. With funding and advocacy support to help families like yours. I can bring people together. A heavy silence lingered in the air. Jackson felt the shifting tides of hope and anger battle within him. The warmth of his daughter's hands in his own pushed him forward, igniting the spark of courage. But why now? What's changed for you? Jackson challenged, feeling the weight of every history-laden moment behind him. Because I lost everything too. And I realized that what I valued, wealth and status, didn't matter without people like you around me. Without people who taught me what community truly means. His heart raced as Jackson weighed the possibility of trusting this man. Was this truly a chance for change, or just another empty promise? What if we turned away from hatred? The man continued, his voice gaining strength. What if, together, we carved a new path? Jackson felt every gaze in the crowd hitch onto him, waiting, hearts in the balance. Would he grasp at this opportunity for a new beginning, or would he close the door on the secrets and scars of the past? In that moment, grounded by the closeness of Emma and Olivia, Jackson knew one thing for certain: this was about so much more than one man's journey. This was about their future. And just as he opened his mouth to respond, the winds shifted, and the distant sound of sirens echoed through the air, pulling their focus away once again. Things were shifting, but for better or worse. Jackson swallowed hard, poised on the edge of a decision that could change everything. Could he truly put his past behind him for the sake of a brighter future? Jackson felt the ground beneath him turn into quicksand. The sirens wailed louder, slicing through the tension in the air. The crowd's attention split. Some turned to see the approaching lights, while others remained glued to the unfolding drama before them. The man's face, a canvas of tension and regret, now reflected uncertainty. Jackson could see the storm of emotions playing out in his eyes. Was this a man genuinely seeking redemption, or was he just another puppet master, ready to pull strings at the first sign of weakness? I still don't trust you, Jackson finally said, the words escaping sharply. Your past weighs heavily on us. On me. He could feel Emma's small hand squeeze his, grounding him. It was a gesture of support, an anchor in his roiling sea of doubt. Believe me, the heavy-set man said, voice earnest, I didn't come here to repeat the mistakes of the past. I came to offer a path toward healing, toward something real. You deserve a chance, Jackson. Your family deserves a future free from the shadows of our history. Olivia watched silently, her big eyes reflecting innocence and curiosity. What kind of help? She finally asked, breaking the thick silence. What can you really do? The man took a steadying breath, seeming to draw strength from the audience's intrigue. There are programs, resources I can funnel your way: financial assistance, support networks. Initiatives that will champion causes like yours. I can help you start over. Feeling the crowd's anticipation, Jackson felt the heavy weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He had spent years keeping his family afloat, they had swum through the murky waters of betrayal and despair. But what if this was more than just words? What if it was the lifeline they needed? A fire of hope flickered within him, but old scars throbbed loudly, drowning it out. You can't just wave a magic wand and fix it all, Jackson frowned. These wounds don't heal with promises. They need time and genuine action. Then let me show you, the man responded. Let us make a step together, however small it may be. I want to prove that people can change, that they can learn and grow. Just give me a chance. Jackson felt the emotions swirling inside him: anger, resentment, a flicker of hope. He could picture a time when all he craved was a chance to put the past behind. Could he risk it now for a brighter future? Just then, a figure strode through the crowd, and Jackson's heart sank even lower. It was his mother. Her expression was one of disbelief, eyes darting between Jackson and the man. What is going on? She called out, walking closer, confusion swirling in her voice. Mom, wait! Jackson yelled, sensing the potential for chaos erupting. All eyes turned on her, curiosity mixed with concern. What is he doing here? She shouted, anger and hurt pouring out like a torrent. You can't trust someone like him. Suddenly, Jackson found himself in the eye of the storm. He hadn't anticipated the weight of family dynamics crashing around him. His mother's voice, once a source of comfort, now echoed with warnings of the past. He was torn between his mother's instincts and the chance of changing his family's narrative. As the sirens grew closer and everyone's gaze bore down on him, Jackson knew one thing: a choice loomed before him. To confront the ghost of his family's past or forge a path into the unknown where hope shone faintly on the horizon. Could he stand up to protect his family while embracing a chance for change? The decision loomed large as every heartbeat felt heavier. Just as he prepared to speak, another sound broke through, sharp and jarring. A crash echoed nearby, sending everyone into a frenzied panic. What came next would rip through the fabric of the moment and rip open new chapters for them all. Was this just the beginning of something bigger, or were they spiraling deeper into chaos? Before Jackson could collect his thoughts, a rush of movement swept through the crowd, fueling the panic. The unmistakable sound of shattering glass clawed at the edges of his mind, pulling him further from the conversation he desperately wanted to control. People were shoving and scrambling, hands reaching for safety or searching for familiar faces amid the confusion. Mom! Jackson called again, desperation lacing his voice as he struggled to keep his focus on the man before him. The heavy-set figure still stood resolutely, absorbing the chaos with an unnerving calm. It was as if the storm outside only fortified his resolve. Stay with us. Emma tugged on Jackson's sleeve just as his mother got closer, her incredulous expression deepening into something almost unreadable. Olivia shifted nervously, glancing at their parents before darting behind Jackson, a whisper of worry on her lips. What just happened? What are you doing here with him? His mother's voice was strained, demanding answers she feared may never come. I don't know yet, Jackson stuttered, feeling the weight of her gaze. But this could be a chance for us, Mom. A chance to escape all of this. He gestured broadly, indicating the heaviness of their existence, the chains of their past. You think he'll help? He'll just drag you down like he did before. She spat back. Her protective instincts inflected her words with venom, but Jackson saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. Please. Let us not do this here, Jackson pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. People need to hear him out. Mom, there is something here that could change everything. We have to be open to the possibility. The man took a step forward, his presence commanding the crowd once again. I understand your hesitancy, he said, his voice rising above the din. But what has been lost cannot be returned until we face it together. I am not just anyone, I am here to take responsibility. Please, hear me out. For their sake. He pointed toward Olivia, whose eyes glistened with confusion. Jackson watched the two women in his life, one fiercely protective, the other bewildered. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came next would matter more than anything he'd ever experienced. Just then, a second loud crash rang out across the street, louder and more alarming than the first. The crowd recoiled, gasps and cries of fear rippling through them. Jackson's heart raced, he felt the ground shift again, a tremor of unrest spreading through him. "What is happening?" Olivia shouted, sudden tears pooling in her timid eyes, her innocence crushed under the weight of panic. "Stay close!" Jackson yelled over the chaos, reaching out to both Emma and Olivia. The man stepped forward resolutely, locking eyes with Jackson. "Charlotte," he said, looking past Jackson's head as if searching for something or someone. "This is your moment, too. We can't let it slip away." "Who is Charlotte?" Jackson blinked, his confusion mingling with the tension in the air. Without missing a beat, the crowd surged again, and Jackson felt a wave of dread wash over him. Everyone was pointing now, gasping at whatever had burst onto the scene, drawing beyond their makeshift gathering. A flash of something silver hung beneath the streetlights, sharply contrasting against the night. And just like that, the clarity of that moment shifted. Jackson felt it, the air felt thick with electricity, whispering that what they were about to face could either tear them apart or unite them against the shadows of their past. But what if their next steps led them down a path they weren't ready to walk? Jackson glanced at the unfamiliar man again, weighing his trust against the weight of his mother's fury. In that flicker of hesitation, the crowd fell silent. Jackson stood at a crossroads, and like a jigsaw puzzle awaiting its final piece, he needed to know, was this crash a sign of despair or a call to build something new? As he faced the uncertainty, all he could think was, how far would he go to protect his family? Was this their moment to stand up, or would they be washed away with the tide of chaos? A sudden scream sliced through the air, sending ripples of fear through the crowd. Jackson's heart pounded louder than the chaos surrounding him. He turned to look at the source of the commotion, his instincts screaming for him to stay alert. "What now?" Emma's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. His sister's wide eyes darted around in a futile search for reassurance. "Just stay close," Jackson urged, drawing both his sisters in tighter. He felt the warmth of Olivia's trembling hand in his, a reminder that they were still together, even when everything felt so scattered. The heavy-set man took a deep breath, as if preparing to anchor them all in a storm. "Charlotte is your sister," he said, voice steady and confident, cutting through the tension like a knife. "She is here, right now." Confusion clouded Jackson's thoughts. "Sister? I don't understand." He blinked rapidly, trying to grasp this new interaction. It felt absurd to hear words of family when everything around him was unraveling. In the periphery, the silver flash that had caught Jackson's eye seemed to wobble, becoming clearer, a glimmering object now visible in the hands of a figure edging closer to the group. Jackson squinted, searching for more details between the chaotic faces, the hysteria, and the disarray. Suddenly, that figure pushed through, revealing a girl, maybe 10 years old. She was disheveled, clothes tattered, and her face smeared with dirt. Jackson instinctively crouched down, bringing himself to her level. "Are you okay?" he asked, though he feared the answer. Her large, frightened eyes peered directly into his, and he could sense an unsettling connection. "Mommy, Mommy," the girl cried, her voice laced with panic. Every syllable sent a tightening sensation in Jackson's chest. "Olivia, it's okay," he whispered, pointing towards Emma, who looked like she was about to break down. "We'll get through this." But in the crowd, hushed murmurs escalated, a murmur that felt like an ominous whisper, echoing Jackson's own worry. "They're saying she was taken abducted. How did she get here?" The man stepped forward again, this time with urgency. "Charlotte is here to find her family, Jackson. She thought she lost them and I thought I lost you both." "Wait," Jackson replied, stepping back. It was all too much. "You say she is our sister?" You're just throwing words around. She's your hope, Jackson. Do you see this? This connection. His intensity seemed to grip the crowd. You need to believe. Believe in what? A voice shouted from the crowd. That this is just another scam. Jackson felt torn in two. On one hand, his mother's anger still echoed in his ears, a warning against trusting strangers. On the other, his heart stirred at the thought of having another family member. A sister. Every part of you wants to protect what's right in front of you, but you cannot ignore the truth when it's standing there. The man's voice rang with conviction. This could be the very answer to everything you've been searching for. In the distance, sirens wailed. Closer and closer, like a signal that the world outside was closing in on them. Jackson realized that above the tension, above the fright, something powerful was happening. His family was standing at the edge of something new, an unknown destiny tangled in their shared past. As Charlotte approached, Jackson took a hesitant step forward. Could he really trust this man? Or was he stepping straight into another trap? Hope flickered inside him, battling the shadows that loomed. Charlotte, he breathed, the name a soft prayer on his lips. What would he say to her? Would he embrace the possibility of this new family, or let fear keep him shackled to the past? The moment sat heavy in the air, and Jackson's heart raced, waiting for a response. Was this the moment to take a leap of faith, or the beginning of a descent into even greater chaos? Jackson's heart was a drum in his chest, loud and unyielding. The sight of Charlotte, her dirt-smudged face reflecting raw fear and longing, twisted something deep inside him. The crowd faded to a dull roar, and time seemed to stretch as he took another step closer. Charlotte, he said again, softer this time. I promise I'll help you find them. Your family. She blinked, uncertainty flickering in her wide eyes. She looked small and fragile, swallowed by the chaos around them. The heavy-set man stood by, urgency lining his face as he watched Jackson with expectation. Is she really? Emma swallowed hard, gripping Olivia's shoulder for support. Jackson could see the weight of doubt settling on her brow, a mirror of his thoughts. Yes. I can feel it. She feels like family, Jackson replied, voice steady but laced with uncertainty. It just fits. At that moment, the piercing sound of sirens grew louder. Panic jolted through the crowd once more, and people began to scatter. Jackson reached for Charlotte, grabbing her hand protectively. He needed to shield her from this madness. Follow me. He shouted over the noise. He pushed past the terrified crowd, glancing back to make sure his sisters were behind him. Emma's grip on Olivia was tight, her face pale, eyes darting nervously as they moved. Where are we going? Olivia asked, her voice a thin thread that barely pierced the fear surrounding them. To find a safe place, Jackson replied. But where? They were trapped in a labyrinth of fear and uncertainty. Every instinct in him urged him to keep moving, to find a sanctuary away from the panic and noise. Charlotte's tiny hand felt delicate in his grasp. I don't want to be lost, she said, fear clawing at her voice. You're not lost anymore, he assured, squeezing her hand gently. We'll find your mom, I promise. Just hold on to me. Jackson. Wait. Emma's cry broke through as they reached the side of the building. She pointed to a group of people huddled together, their worried whispers rising above the chaos. They're looking for someone, maybe we can ask them. Jackson hesitated, torn. Could these people help? Or would they just add to the confusion? But the urgency that filled the air pushed him forward. All right. Just be careful, he replied, leading the girls closer. As they approached, he felt Charlotte cling tighter to his side. The closeness of his sisters was a comfort, a lifeline in a storm of emotions. The group noticed them and turned, their expressions shifting from concern to relief. Is anyone hurt? One of the adults asked, his brow furrowed in worry. Does anyone need medical attention? Jackson opened his mouth to respond but found himself hesitating. They needed more than just medical help, they needed answers, they needed to find their lost family. "We're looking for Charlotte's family," he finally said, desperate hope threading his words. "Have any of you seen them?" Then, without warning, a loud crack of thunder rumbled overhead, echoing the confusion swirling in Jackson's mind. The skies had opened up, and rain began to pour down like a cascade of despair. He felt a wave of frustration wash over him. Why was everything falling apart? "Stay close," he shouted over the mounting noise. The rain turned the ground slick, making it treacherous. He kept an arm around Charlotte, pulling her in tighter against him. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows of the building, a man stumbling toward them, eyes wide with desperation. Jackson caught a glimpse of the man's disheveled hair and wild eyes. Something about him felt familiar, like a ghost from the past. "Charlotte!" the man cried, his voice cracking with emotion. "I've been searching for you." Jackson's heart stopped. Who was this man? Did he know Charlotte? Was this her father? The rain pounded down, drowning out the crowd's frightened murmurs, senses blending in a chaotic rhythm. And as the mysterious figure closed the distance, Jackson felt a swell of questions rise within him. Could this stranger be what they had been searching for all along? Or would trusting him only lead them further into the tempest? The moment lingered, hanging heavy on Jackson's heart. This was a moment of revelation, a chance for the truth, and the dawning uncertainty that awaited them felt both thrilling and terrifying. Would this lead to salvation or another betrayal? He held his breath, waiting for the answer to unfold. The crowd parted as the man rushed forward, rain streaming down his face. Jackson stood frozen, heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The storm raged around them, but nothing could drown out the intensity of this moment. "Charlotte, my baby!" the man exclaimed, reaching the girl with an urgency that made Jackson's stomach twist. He could see the love and desperation in this stranger's eyes, the kind that any father would wear when searching for their child. "Dad?" Charlotte whispered, blinking through raindrops and confusion. "Is it really you?" The man knelt, pulling her into a fierce hug. "I thought I lost you forever." Jackson felt a wash of relief mixed with confusion. This was the reunion Charlotte needed, but it tugged hard at his heart. Could he let this moment unfold while he stood frozen at the edge of the storm? As the rain poured down, Charlotte's father continued to embrace her, his voice trembling, "You're safe now. I'm here." Emma and Olivia exchanged glances, the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air. "Who is he?" Olivia asked softly, the worry evident in her voice. "This is family." She found her family. Jackson breathed more to himself than to anyone else. But another wave of unease surged through him. Was there still a place for him in this narrative? Charlotte looked up at her father, eyes glistening with tears. "I was scared, I know," he whispered, brushing her hair away from her face. "But I'm here now. I promise I'll never let you out of my sight again." Jackson watched the scene, feeling warmth start to spread through him. Maybe he didn't need to be the father who protects alone. Maybe there was more room in their family than he would have ever imagined. Embracing complexity could be the path to rebuild what had once felt lost. As if sensing his internal struggle, Emma took a step forward and squeezed his arm. "Dad, you'll find your way with us. We're not done yet." There was a spark in her voice that jolted him back into the moment. The families surrounding them, his family, were pressing together, walls steadily moving outward, inviting new opportunities. Charlotte's father stood, his daughter cradled in his arms. "Thank you," he said, eyes scanning the group. "Thank you for bringing her home." Jackson felt the power of forgiveness flow through him. "You're welcome," he replied, his voice steadier than before. "And I'm glad she's back with you. But know that she'll always have a piece of my heart." Rain continued to pour, but something shifted. The storm washed away the heaviness that had been suffocating him and the twins. "Do you think you could help?" Jackson asked, addressing Charlotte's father with a newfound boldness. "We have a lot of work ahead, and if we're going to save the shelter, we need to come together." "Whatever it takes," he replied with fierce determination. The sound of applause rippled through the crowd, a wave of energy that sparked life into the air. They were all connected, finally united in a shared cause. Then, like a tidal wave crashing against a persistent wall, the crowd's collective voice rang out. "Save our shelter. Save our home." Jackson felt the energy ignite within him. He was no longer just fighting for Emma and Olivia, he was fighting for Charlotte and for a future they could all embrace together. As the rain began to ease, Jackson gathered Emma and Olivia close, the sensation grounding him. "Look at what we can build together," he said, passion seeping into his voice. "We have lost, and we have gained. But now, we can create our own destiny." Relief flooded over his girls as they nodded, their eyes brightening. They were not just survivors, they were warriors. Charlotte offered a shy smile amid the lingering storm as they began to regroup, forging a unified front. No longer was Jackson alone in his fight, he was ready to embrace the roles of father, brother, and ally. The winds of change blew softly through the streets, ushering in a new dawn. In a moment of clarity, Jackson took a deep breath, standing tall, embracing his family anew. They had fearlessly faced chaos together. They were ready to step into the light. Yet, amidst the warmth of new beginnings, a call of urgency echoed through his mind. Now was the time to act. They were on the brink of something monumental, their lives intertwined now more than ever. "What's next?" Emma asked, her curiosity sparking excitement. "Next," Jackson replied, a smile breaking over his face. "Next, we fill this place with love and possibility. Next, we gather our community and let them know we're standing together." With hearts entwined, he took his daughters by the hand, alongside Charlotte and her father. They faced the gathering crowd, ready to share their story not just of loss, but of hope, resilience, and a deeper bond. As they stepped into the room for the first time, a new chapter unfurled before them like a promise. Let this be the moment they would never forget, a moment of love, unity, and transformation. This was their family. This was their fight. And they would not back down. Jackson felt alive, ignited, and hopeful. Together, they would turn the page. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm. I'm counting on you. Comment your feelings and reactions to this ending. What are you feeling right now? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support, and it's time to unite over the good we can create together. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the word.